Imagine, it's 2004, Mom just came back from doing the groceries and bought you the latest print of Teen Vogue. So you can dive in a series of quizzes and questionnaires and tests to find out your personality, to find out who is the right type for you, to find out what's your perfect makeup, what's your type of hairstyle, to find out what could it mean if Chad lent you his pen during math class, and then you lay back in your bed daydreaming about made-up scenarios. Well, it's 2020, you're a grown man now, and you're about to go through an introspective journey on the type of WoW player that you are. Now, when we talk about WoW players, we have to say immediately that everyone believes he is the perfect player. He is a well-adjusted adult. He is able to form his own opinion, have critical thinking and an individual thought process. He is not swayed by clickbaity YouTubers and Zoom streamers with their fake reactions and outrage culture. You're able to form your own opinion on whatever Blizzard change or addition to the game. You don't have to listen to someone else before you form your own opinion. You rarely jump into long arguments that turn into shit flinging and ad hominems. You're better than that, you're the better man. You are humble enough to know that you can defer to better players when it comes to something related to your class. You don't have to always be right, you don't have to believe you are the voice of authority on the subject. You know you can always improve, you know you can always get better. You can take pride in learning a new spec. You get excited when you start playing your alt, or maybe you reroll and you start diving on a new spec, learning all new various things, all the various macros, the rotations, the talents. And then when you master that spec, that class, you are satisfied, you're rewarded, while still remaining humble and knowing that you still have a lot to learn and there is a lot more players that know more than you that can still help you and you can still learn from. You still thrive in individuality. You don't just copy-paste an LVUI pre-made interface and copy-paste a Wikora set. You just want to make it your own. You want to make your own UI with your own things that you need and you want, so you can be satisfied with the way your character looks in-game and your UI looks. And you do not need to do things for validation. You don't need to jump into every possible Discord, meticulously changing your nickname and avatar every 20 minutes to constantly try to get attention. Essentially, you are the perfect player. Now, we all know that very, very few people fall in this category, unfortunately. Otherwise, the game would be much better. Unfortunately, we do know that many people fall into some very less pleasing categories. So let's go over this wretched hive of scam and villainy that populates the WoW player base. The first type of WoW player is based on age, because it's the boomer. The boomer is an older type of player, usually at least above 25, likely closer to 30 to mid-30. The boomer has one opinion, really. The opinion that new is bad and old is good. Every single thing introduced into the game is better than whatever Blizzard is planning to introduce in the future. If you're talking about dungeons, then Cataclysm dungeons were the best. If you're talking about raids, then Wrath of the Lich King raids were the best. If you're talking about open world zones, then TBC open world zones were the best. There is never anything that excites the boomer when it comes to new expansions and new modes and new systems, unless these are callbacks to the old days. And even then, the boomer will still remind you that it's not just quite the old days. It could even be a one-to-one exact copy, it still wouldn't matter. It's not just quite the same. The boomer is generally repulsed by technology, things like add-ons, things like Wikoras and third-party mods, Raider.io, Simulation Craft. This is just mumble speak to him, doesn't mean anything. He is in fact annoyed by people talking about this because of course they are ruining the authenticity of the game. The boomer is so tied to authenticity, he still plays on a CRT monitor on 20 FPS and 400 latency to stay closer to his roots. He is a religious button clicker and keyboard turner, obviously, doesn't know what a macro is. Anyone outperforming a boomer is a no-life zoomer that plays 20 hours a day. And the boomer can't, because as he will be quick to remind you, he has a full-time job and a wife and 3 kids, because he has a life. The boomer is typically found in threads regarding the future of the game. They pop up more and more, obviously, close to the release of a new expansion, the release of the alpha and the beta where the news start coming in, as well as the releases of the new tiers of the expansion where new mechanics and new systems might be added. You can always find sprouting boomers all across the fields complaining about the new being bad and the old being good. The boomer, though, has a mortal enemy. Ever since his enemy was born, a few years ago, I could say, the boomer has never took a liking to it. We are talking about the zoomer. This wretched creature, this spawn of hell, is the amalgamation of everything that went wrong with online games in the past 6 or so years. The development of loot boxes and gacha games. Games that took away your normal rewards from effort and skill and instead put them in complete RNG elements. These Zoomers have developed through battle royale games over the years, where the only reward comes from playing again and again and again. Constant, short bursts of games, rewarding you with quick loot boxes where you never know what's inside, seeking instant gratification everywhere. Their brain is completely riddled by dopamine and endorphin. He seeks a hit of dopamine wherever he can find it. He is completely unable to form any opinion. He has been born and raised on the internet, and as such he is completely subservient to streamers. He has no opinion that his streamer doesn't have. Whenever something new happens in the game, he is quick to join his favorite streamer's stream, see what he thinks, see what chat thinks, and then form the opinion. An exact mold of the community he is in. He is completely unable of critical thinking and individual thought process. He copies everything. He is going to be playing whatever flavor of the month spec is the best. He doesn't care about which one plays better, which one is more enjoyable. What matters is the one he's being told is the best. When it comes to add-ons, it's the same. He doesn't care about personalizing his own UI, creating any sort of individuality. Copy-paste your LVUI, copy-paste your weak aura, and you're good to go. Almost as if you're ready to drop. To log in. Long-term projects, patience, and reward through long time dedication to something give him nausea and headaches. His ultimate skill expression is on the Demon Hunter, where every click gives him the gratification of a Devil May Cry press A for awesome move. The Zoomer is in a constant war against the Boomer because their identities clash against each other. The idea of wanting extra gratification immediately is obviously foreign to a Boomer used to games like Vanilla and TBC, where even the smallest thing could take you weeks to obtain. That would unironically kill a Zoomer. This is the first divide we have, the player base divided by age. But what if the divide happens not with age but just with personality and style? Well, in that case, possibly the saddest creature in all of the World of Warcraft community fauna is the Doomer. The Doomer could be both a Boomer or a Zoomer. The age doesn't matter here. What matters is the amount of time you sunk in the game. The Doomer is a type of player that has grown detached from the game. It has grown to have a dysfunctional relationship with the game where he hates the game and he wants to quit, but he just can't because he's addicted. He has developed WoW as some sort of alternate reality game for him, so he can't quite quit. Every time he tries, he's gonna come back the next tier, 2 tiers from then, or the expansion after. He's always gonna be back. He is the personification of the sunk cost fallacy for a WoW player. This toxic situation for him causes him to hate Blizzard and to hate everything regarding the game, almost as if convincing himself that this time is the right reason to leave the game, but quite never being able to. To him, the glass is always half empty. To him, there is always something to complain regarding Blizzard, regarding Activision, regarding the game, the patch, the dungeon, the raid. There's always something wrong. There is always a scheme, a ploy, some way for Activision to coerce or abuse the player base to steal money from them. The game, of course, has been dying since Cataclysm. Dungeons and the raids have been getting worse and worse and worse every time. Every time there is a change, it's a change for the worse. It's a change that is going to make the game worse. Similar outlook in the game like a Boomer, but not quite, for much different reasons. The poor Doomer just craves negativity. He's going to join discussions that he knows he's not interested in. He's going to join discussions that talk about things he doesn't like, just so he can enter the discussion and tell everyone how much he doesn't like something, almost as a cry for help. He doesn't crave attention. He doesn't do it to be a contrarian and to gain attention like we will see some of the WoW personalities doing. This person just does it because he is sick. He's just looking for a way to quit the game for good, but he unfortunately never will be able to. The habitat of this creature, unlike the Boomer, which is rather set on rails, the Doomer is more hectic. The Doomer can be found in a little bit of everything. Yes, the Doomer is always going to be present when it comes to news about the expansion, about the beta, about the class changes, news about the new patch, the new tier, the new dungeons. He's obviously always going to be there to remind everyone how bad something is, but he can pop out anywhere. You could be talking about enjoying the new rotation for Affliction, and the Doomer will be there to remind you that Mists of Pandaria Affliction was much better, and now the game is so much more simple, and now Blizzard is casualizing the game, and now it's gotten worse. The Doomer will always be there for you. At the exact opposite of the Doomer, we have the Consoomer. The Consoomer, similar to the Zoomer, is another byproduct of the internet. Rabid, obsessive, and possessive fandom towards a corporation has become more and more troubling over the years. Recently, you have seen things like the Marvel fandoms, the Rick and Morty fandoms, the Star Wars fandom becoming more and more creepily obsessed with a corporation, essentially, a product. And we do have, unfortunately, these creatures inhabiting our fauna in World of Warcraft. There are consumers that have this same level of devotion and dedication and fanaticism towards Blizzard. This slimy creature is similar to the Doomer of one opinion. His opinion is going to be to serve and subserve Blizzard for anything and everything. Every opinion that Blizzard has, the consumer is going to cave in and join. The consumer obviously has bought the pig, he has bought the ship, he has bought the Drake, he has probably 26 months of active subscription already, he has several pieces of WoW paraphernalia in his house, in his home. Frostmourne, Doomhammer, Arkham posters, figurines, keychains, posters, a couple of tattoos, coffee mugs, teacups, everything. Everything that can be bought to express their dedication to the fanbase and to the corporation of Blizzard, he has it. Taliesin and Avital are his role models. He doesn't find them creepy at all. The consumer is obviously completely casual. He sees competitiveness as toxic and problematic. Anything that comes close to competitiveness, things like details, like Warcraft logs, like Raider.io, like Simulation Craft, they are tools of oppression of the player base. They are attempts at gatekeeping by these toxic incels. Very little can be done when trying to enter a discussion or join a discussion that is being dominated by a consumer. There is no real opinion you can take out of him besides Blizzard good, player base bad. There is nothing that can be done about these creatures. It is better to let them on their own and stay away from them to prevent infection. The physiological phenomenon of illusory superiority was identified as a form of cognitive bias, unskilled and unaware of it. How difficulties in recognizing one's own incompetence lead to inflated self-assessments. We have just described the Discoomer, a cautionary tale on this very dangerous parasite infesting the WoW fauna community. What do you think happens when a person joins an online community and vicariously lives through that community for 10 hours a day, and every single time there is an argument, normal, well-adjusted people are willing to join the discussion and the argument for 5, 10, maybe even 20 minutes, and the Discoomer is willing to stay there for 10 hours. What is going to happen is that the Discoomer is never going to lose an argument, because the Discoomer is constantly going to double down on his idiocy and drag the argument longer and longer, until said well-adjusted people simply call it a day, tell him to fuck off and leave. This is a problem, because this is going to give the Discoomer a massive inflated ego. It's going to make him believe that he is always right, that his opinion is always right, that he is never wrong, and he's actually much better than he is. The Discoomer is a type of parasite infesting the community, which by this point spends more time in online communities than he does in the actual game. Sometimes it's Reddit, a few more times it's MMO Champion and the official forums, and way more times it's going to be Discord, particularly the class Discords, the more populated of the WoW-related communities. These Discoomers hatch and take roots in these class Discords. They are going to live in there for 10 to 15 hours a day. And the more they stay there, the more their ego will inflate. The more arguments they will start, the more discussions and debates they will start, the more times well-adjusted people simply strolling by for 10 to 15 minutes will concede the argument and leave, and the more they will think themselves as a better player. This is going to quickly grow out of control. The infection will quickly spread through their brain, and in a matter of days, not even weeks or months, but just days, they will start throwing out Theorycraft posts and min-max posts and posts about talent setups and rotations, despite being absolutely clueless about it, despite having no idea whatsoever what they're talking about, despite being 8 out of 12 heroic and 1200 Raider.io, complete casuals by all means. Their experience in the online community has catastrophically inflated their ego. They will believe themselves the kings of that place, the bosses of that turf. They will believe that anyone entering the specific channel or class Discord is going to be needing some explaining on who rules things around here. As a result, the Discoomer is physiologically incapable of letting a discussion go for more than 3 minutes without having to barge in with their own take of things, which is usually retarded and completely pointless. In just a few weeks, the Discoomer will be completely lost to the infection. He will unironically believe himself as some sort of paragon of knowledge for his class, maybe even as some figure of authority within the class Discord. He will be too far gone from saving. There is nothing you can do once you encounter one of these creatures. The best you can do is identify him quickly. You can identify them by the amount of posts they had in a single day. If it passes 60 to 70, they are definitely addicted. You can also find them out by the amount of times they have changed their nickname and avatar in the last 24 hours. If it's past 10, then they are also completely far gone, seeking attention like no other. The best thing you can do is just ignore them, mute them, and go past them. Do not get dragged in, do not get infected. They have a very high risk of contagion, so stay away from them. And with this we finish our World of Warcraft fauna documentary, a nice observation of the various wildlife inhabiting this community. I'm sure, for as much as you like being in the perfect player category, you do fall in with one flaw or the other in some of the other degenerate categories. For myself, I can say luckily I am free of the Consoomer disease, I am free of the Discoomer parasite, so I might fall in a little bit in the Boomer and Doomer categories a little bit sometimes, but I still think I'm rather functioning as a player still. I don't know about you guys, tell me where do you actually falter, and I will leave you to your introspection as a player. The videos about the rating of the tanks and healers by fun is eventually coming. It's been delayed for days now, but it's gonna come soon, I think. I'll leave you to your own Zen meditation, and in the meantime, I'm off, triggering some Discoomers.